What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, and as the decade closes, we have got a very special video to bring to you today. We have picked out our top moments of the decade, and we're going to rank them in categories of legendary, epic, great, and good. So let's see how we get on. We've picked some epic moments.
Can't wait to get stuck into this. It's going to be tough to rank these, man, because
really
there's so many amazing moments to get stuck into. But we're going to make a tier list. Watch out for the graph. But we're going to get right into it. I want to know what you think in the comments below, where you think these should be ranked, because it's been so tough ranking these moments. But these are just good moments we're doing. We haven't done it. Let us know in the comments below after this video if you want us to do bad moments. But this is just for the best moments of the decade.
All right, so should we get stuck in?
Let's do it.
You ready? All right, so let's start with Crouch against Man City in 2010. The game that was branded as the Champions League playoff. It was an absolutely humongous game at the time. It was a very tight game, pretty much the whole game, and then in the last minute, Yunus Kabul on the right-hand side crosses it in. It comes out to Peter Crouch, and he heads it into the empty net, didn't he? And the scenes that day were just absolutely epic. I was up there that night, and I don't think I've celebrated a goal like it since. It was like I fell down about 5 to 10 rows when we scored that day. I had bruises all over my body, and it was like a sense of achievement that we haven't done before, you know what I mean? Because we finally got into the Champions League.
We'd gone kind of close a couple of times to win at the Etihad, to reclaim that Champions League spot for the first time in our history against the oil-rich, money-grabbing
who just got taken over, really.
A year before that, so they just got a lot of money invested in. They got a team of superstars. Carlos Tevez in the team.
No one gave Spurs a chance in that game, really. No. Everyone was saying City are going to win this game. City are going to roll over Spurs, and it's just like, it got to a stage where every big game Spurs would kind of falter in, and this was the first time in kind of recent history that Spurs went into a big game and actually got themselves over the line, and that was under Harry Redknapp, and we finally finished in the top 4 and played Champions League football.
And the feeling of having Champions League football to look forward to the next season for the very first time was something like nothing else.
And there was another story from that game. I think you told me, because you were watching at home with Dad.
Yeah.
And you were watching it sitting on the couch, and Dad was sitting on the couch, and I think it was 0-0 at the time. I think Crouch goes sliding in, and Dad slides off the couch.
Because the Cotto put a ball across the face of goal. Crouch is sliding out post. My dad just instinctively just did a sliding tackle onto the carpet because he just wanted it so much to be forced in. But Crouch just missed it. But then he headed home just like my dad did in the final 10 minutes. That was a great night. And I think just because of how big that night was, it goes into the L status, legendary. Yeah, legendary status, I think.
I agree. It goes into the completely legendary status. So the first selection goes right to the top.
It
was just a
mammoth.
Don't say that
lightly. We don't say that lightly.
No, we don't. It was a mammoth victory, wasn't it? At the time.
All right.
At the time.
What a moment. Next up, Crouch against AC Milan away from home in 2011, winning the first leg of the Champions League quarter-final. Going into this game, AC Milan were top of the league. They had a whole host of superstars: Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Robinho, Pato, Gattuso, Seedorf, Pirlo even, I think, was still Nesta. These names just roll off the tongue, because what a team they were. They were top of Serie A as well. What a team they were, and they were hot favourites.
I believe they were the champions at the time.
They weren't the champions. They won the league that season.
That
year they won the league, and Spurs were going into that game as big underdogs. And I remember we set up the team. Harry Redknapp set up the team with Sandro and Wilson Palacios in central midfield.
Stephen Pienaar played as well.
Pienaar started on the left-hand side. Everyone thought Nico Cranshaw was going to start. I remember Pienaar started, and Spurs dug deep for about 80 minutes. Herrero Gomez making some top saves in the Spurs goal to keep out, I think Mario Yepes it was, the centre-back. And right off 10 minutes to go, Aaron Lennon has a breakaway, breaking past the Milan defence, squaring it to Peter Crouch, who scored his second gigantic goal in a Tottenham shirt, and we took the away leg home 1-0 winners. What a moment that was.
Yeah, and I've got a little story about that as well.
Go on.
Because I was there that day, and it was absolutely, I can't tell you the scenes. It was raining all day. We were drenched head to toe. The scenes and the singing out in Milan were absolutely amazing, because obviously it was our first year in the Champions League ever, and it was the first ever last 16 match we've ever played. But that's not the story I want. I want to tell you a story about from my university days, and I basically just went AWOL from uni just to go to this game. And I was already in a bit of trouble from uni, but that aside, it doesn't matter. So I said to uni that basically I'm not going to come into uni because I've got to go back to London for some emergency. and I said to my mum and dad, and I was like, look, I'm going to Milan. I've cleared it with uni. It's all good. No worries.
Oh, God.
And then while I was in Milan, uni called my house and was like, do you know where Ben is? We haven't seen him for a week. And then he was like, yeah, he's in Milan. He's okayed it with you. And then it just all went to shit from there, basically. But I tell you what, I'll do it 1,000 times again to see a moment like that. I'll do it 1,000 times
Winning
again.
in the San Siro was absolutely epic, especially against a team of the calibre of AC Milan, and doing a Champions League quarter-final as well, and everyone wrote us off before the game.
Well, it was the last 16.
Sorry, yeah, you're right. Last 16 to help us into the quarterfinals. Obviously, it was the first leg. There was a second leg, which we drew 0-0, and we ended up going through.
Yeah.
But what a moment, Crouch scoring the winner of the San Siro, and I think that goes in the epic tier.
Yeah, that's got to go in the epic tier. It's not just legendary; it's just a bit below legendary, just because of the stage we were at the time, you know. But yeah, epic for me.
All right, next up. Taxi for Maicon. What a moment that was.
2010, Gareth Bale ending Maicon's career. They were the Italian champions at the time, Inter Milan.
Champions League champions.
League champions under Jose Mourinho.
No, so it was Mourinho just left for Real Madrid,
didn't he?
So
Rafa Benitez. Yeah, Rafa Benitez was manager at the time. Everyone, when the groups got made, was saying Spurs are in the group of death with Inter Milan, Werder Bremen and 20. Thinking about it now, the group of death, Inter Milan, Werder Bremen and 20. That's mad. But, you know, you're in a group with the European champions at the time. Everyone's saying it's a foregone conclusion. Inter Milan are going to wipe the floor with you. The first leg, not the first leg, but the away leg, obviously, we lost in a 4-3 with an epic loss, really.
Yeah.
But when we brought them back to White Hart Lane, there was unfinished business to do, and Gareth Bale absolutely tore Maicon a new one. Absolutely sensational performances that day from Van der Vaart, Pavlyuchenko as well.
Yeah, Pavlyuchenko on the score sheet right at the end, but that was all about the Gareth Bale show, wasn't it? Tearing the best right back in the world at the time apart, and he never really recovered from those two performances, in all honesty. What a performance that was. It was when he really truly came of age. It really shone a light onto his ability he has on that left hand side, and Inter Milan couldn't deal with him. We ended up 3-1 winners. So what a performance against such a great team.
And the lane was absolutely rocking that night, wasn't it?
The lane was made for nights like that.
Yeah. Under the lights, Champions League nights at White Hart Lane.
It was only a group stage game, so we were going to put it in the great tier. But what an absolutely amazing night as well. But just below the epic tier. It wasn't the knockout stage, it was in the group stages. But what a night that was.
All right, which moves us on to Kabul's winner at the Emirates in 2010. This game, we were 2-0 down at half-time. All hope looked lost at the Emirates, as it does many times, to be honest, when we've been there. But they came out with intent in that second half. Rafa van der Vaart, Gareth Bale, and then Yunus Kabul hitting in the winner from a header with about 5-10 minutes to go, was it?
5 minutes to go.
5 minutes to go. Absolutely epic. And I've got another story for that day. So basically, I went to that game on my own. And usually I take my phone and I get all the hosts of texts and calls from Arsenal fans after the game. But I said to myself, this time, I'm not taking my phone to the game. I left my phone at home. I was like, I can't take the abuse from Gooners. So what I did was, I drove there by myself. I didn't even drink before the game. I did nothing. I drove myself to the game. I found this car park in Arsenal, which was like a small little driveway where a few cars were packed in, and I was a bit late, so they packed me in. Like, I was the first one out, and they go to me, Are you gonna be here quick after the game? So I was like, yeah, no worries. So obviously I'm in my colours and everything, and what happens is Spurs win 3-2, so I don't have my phone, so I can't even find my friend that wants to lift back with me. That was another story. But I get back to the car park, and literally I walked in there with my Spurs shirt, and my car is blocking every car from coming out of this car park. And obviously I'm late because I'm celebrating them.
How long after the final whistle is this?
This was about half an hour, 45 minutes after the final whistle. after celebrating all over Arsenal, I walked in there and there's just angry gooners, everyone in red, looking at me. And as I'm waltzing in, and I was like, "You all right, guys? Good game." And I went in my car and just drive off.
Keep after heading them into the car park. They must have hated you so much after that. I hope a gooner who was in that car park was watching right now.
Yeah.
It was Ben, it was him. But bro, that was an epic moment, I think. That goes in the epic status.
I mean,
being 2-0 down away at the Emirates, our first win in the Emirates, our first win away at Arsenal for God knows how long.
it definitely flirts with the legendary status, I think.
Flirts, I think it just
but
because
I
it was
think
a
falls
league.
into epic just because you don't actually get anything at the end of the game. It's just bragging rights.
And if it was in November as well, so early in the season. But what a moment that was, winning at the Emirates, 3 goals to 2. Next moment, Gareth Bale's late winner away at West Ham at Upton Park. That was under Andre Villas-Boas back in 2013. Spurs were drawing 2-2 in this game, and I think we needed to win this game to keep our place in the top 4. And Tom Carroll's wonderful assist, laying it off to Gareth Bale from 30 yards out, and he's having a wonderful season at this point, and he just smashes it into the top corner from 30 yards out in the final minute of the game to win the game 3-2 at Upton Park. Unbelievable moment.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable moment. And funnily enough, I don't have a story for this one because this was the only game that I hadn't been at so far out of all these games. Out of all these games that we're talking about. So I actually wasn't at that game. But I do remember watching it on TV and just going absolutely wild when Bale scored that goal, because we just needed that win as well. It was really important to the season, I remember.
It was a Monday night, I believe.
It was a Monday night, and it's just absolute scenes when that went in.
Yeah, I think we had to come. We came back from 2-1 down with 10 minutes to go, I believe, and Bale capping off the comeback.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite go in the great tier. I think just below that, we're going to put it in the good tier, just because West Ham, we don't really care about them too much. And it was a great win. We end up finishing 5th this season, so in the grand scheme of things, it didn't mean too much. But what a moment it was at the time to win that 3-2.
Yeah, because you know what? We've had so many last-minute winners and comebacks against West Ham. This one actually is the only one that gets in here because of how good the goal was.
Yeah,
really.
true. Yeah. That's what it was in Bale. Yeah, you got to have some Bale moments.
All right.
So that goes in the good tier.
Yeah, which moves us on to another amazing goal. This one from Danny Rose against Arsenal in 2010 at White Hart Lane. It was the first time we'd beaten Arsenal in the league in a very, very long time. The whole stadium were up for it. It was under the lights at White Hart Lane. I think it was a Monday night. Was it a Monday?
I think it was midweek because we just lost to Portsmouth in the Cup semi-final.
Yeah, actually, that's a story, wasn't it? Me and you walking out of Wembley and being like, and I remember I saw my friend Ben Payton. We see him in the queue up Wembley Way, and we're both looking at him. We're both really depressed after that Portsmouth game, and we're like, oh, we got bloody Arsenal next week.
We got bloody Arsenal, then we got Chelsea after that, and we got struggling for top 4.
Little did we know. We beat Arsenal and Chelsea in the space of a week.
And we sealed that top 4 with a win against Man City as well, which, what a few weeks that was, being a Spurs fan. But I think Danny Rose on his Premier League debut, as the commentator said.
Then gets hauled off at half-time.
Yeah, gets hauled off half-time because he actually wasn't that good, but his volley from 30 yards out after about 5 minutes was an unbelievable moment. Almunia punched the corner out and he just smashed a volley in somehow from 30 yards back over Almunia's head, and Tottenham end up winning that game 2-1, capped off by 3 unbelievable saves at the end of that game by Aurelio Gomez. One from Sol Campbell. Yeah, and one from Sol Campbell tipping his head onto the bar, winning the game for us, and we end up seeing top 4 because what an amazing night that was, which obviously led on to us beating Chelsea as well.
How many times do you reckon you've seen that goal in your lifetime?
Over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I've seen that many times, and it's warranted because what a volley that was from Danny. He'll never repeat that.
Do you think keeper should have saved it?
No chance, mate. No chance, mate. Well, Almunia is not the best keeper, is he? But what a volley. That goes in the great tier, I think. Right. Just misses out on the epic tier, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But it goes in the great tier. But let us know. Maybe you disagree. All right.
All right, and the next one we're going to talk about is beating Real Madrid at Wembley in 2017. What else can you say about that? Just the title says it all, beating Real Madrid, you know what I mean? Just only things that we could have dreamt of a few years before that. and it's like Champions League nights at Wembley. I know it wasn't at White Hart Lane, and we didn't have the whole atmosphere we used to have at White Hart Lane under lights, but that day Wembley was rocking, wasn't it?
Completely. 90,000 fans there, completely sell-out stadium at the time, and coming to the game, I think they were the European champions at the time, Real Madrid, as they usually
Well, they won
are
the Champions League that year as well.
Yeah, and they won the Champions League that year, and we had gone to the Bernabeu and got a credible draw. We played quite well in that game, but everyone was expecting Real Madrid to turn up in this one, and we absolutely wiped the floor with them. Harry Winks and running things in the centre, Kieran Trippier having the game of his life at right back, and then Dele Alli with a fantastic brace, sealing his status as one of the best young European players at the time. And it was just an unbelievable day, and Ronaldo just didn't have a peep pretty much the whole day, and beating the European champions at Wembley 3-1 and to win so convincingly really showed how far Pochettino could take this team, and really made us believe how far we could go. And it gave us a belief for the next year to go all the way to the final. So I think it was a big step for the club, and I think goes in the epic tier.
Yeah, and it reminded me a lot of that Inter Milan win, that Real Madrid win, just because, it's European champions coming to our home and us just wiping the floor with them.
I think, first time ever playing, because we got battered by Real Madrid last time we played them earlier.
In that year of the Inter Milan.
When
Adebayor got sent off after a few minutes, didn't he?
No, Crouch got sent off. Adebayor scored twice. It's hard to remember these things.
No, Adebayor was playing for Real Madrid.
Yeah, exactly. We got battered, but this time we absolutely annihilated them. That was an amazing moment.
All right.
Goes in the epic tier for us. Next up, we got a draw at the Nou Camp to progress in the Champions League. After it looked like for all the world to see we were about to crash out in the group stages, we somehow clawed our way back after losing 2 and drawing 1 of our first 3 games. We beat Inter Milan and we beat PSV at Wembley, and we needed to go to the Nou Camp and claim a point.
We just needed to better
Inter Milan's result. That's right. And again, another night where everyone's thinking Tottenham away at Barcelona, surely they don't have a chance of going through. But after going 1-0 down early on in the day, after Ousmane Dembele capitalised on Kyle Walker-Peters' mistake, Spurs were pressing hard. We were dominating possession and actually dominating at the Nou Camp, and we got a late equaliser thanks to Lucas Moura with 10 minutes to go. And thanks to PSV drawing away Inter Milan, we ended up progressing into the group stages, into the knockout phase of the Champions League. Yeah,
so the actual moment is not actually us scoring in the Nou Camp, it's that final whistle going in the Inter Milan game.
Yeah, so full time, our game finished before Inter Milan's game finished.
Exactly, so we didn't actually know if we were going through, but once that final whistle went at Inter Milan, it was just a breath, just a sigh of relief and mad celebrations from every Tottenham fan, probably around Europe, but definitely in Barcelona.
Yeah, what an unbelievable night as well, because it really looked like we had no chance of qualifying after 3 games.
The great escape.
I remember we were in Eindhoven, and when they equalised with the last 10 minutes and we ended up with a draw, we had 1 point after 3 games, and we were just sitting there after the game thinking, well, we're out. How can we go through? That's it.
Yeah.
And especially because Barcelona also got Inter Milan got a draw with Barcelona in the same night. You're thinking there's no chance we can get through here, but we somehow won our next 2 games, dragged it to the final day against Barcelona, and getting that draw to seal the knockout phase. Absolutely unbelievable.
We had a light from the heavens shining on us in that Champions League run, I'll tell you that.
Really did.
Anyway, we move on to...
And what tier are we putting that in? We'll pick that.
Epic, I think.
We're putting in the epic tier. Yeah, I think so. Just because that led to us going to the final.
Exactly.
So in the context of things, what a moment that was.
Exactly, which moves us on to another moment in the same Champions League run. It's Lucas Moura's hat-trick in the Amsterdam arena, obviously 2019. What more needs to be said about that?
The context of it as well was just unreal. Losing 1-0 in the first leg at home to Ajax.
2-0 down at half time.
And then 2-0 down at half time. We need 3 goals in the second half against Ajax, who just wiped the floor.
They were flying.
Just wiped the floor of Juventus, who were one of the best teams in Europe at the time, who still are. And we need 3 goals. The Spurs have been completely abject in that first half. And it's hard to remember, that we had Wanyama starting in that game. Wanyama started in the second leg at Ajax, and considering where he is now, it's just how we got through that game.
Where he was at that time as well.
Where he was at that time. And I remember bringing on Llorente at half-time to try and salvage things. We had no Harry Kane, we had no Heung-min Son in that game as well, I don't think. I don't think we had either of them. I think
no
he was
Harry
out.
for sure.
No Harry for sure. I'm not sure. I think Son definitely was out for the first leg.
I'm not sure about Son.
Maybe Son did play, but we had limited options and we needed someone to step up and save our season. And Lucas Moura somehow dragged us out of the mire with help from Llorente with his knockdowns, and going where he had 2 left foot finishes to make it 2-2, and going into the 95th minute of 5 minutes added on. Literally, the clock literally turned to 95 as he struck his shot. And it just buried it into the bottom corner, sending Spurs fans absolutely delirious and into the Champions League final. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. We were both there in Amsterdam, and I honestly could not believe that Spurs somehow had made it into the Champions League final. And the way they did, it was one of the greatest Champions League moments of all time, let alone Spurs Champions League moments. And it was one of the moments of the decade of all of football, let alone Spurs moment of the decade.
Well, there's probably 2 of the greatest semi-finals ever in the history of the Champions League that year. You know, you had us against Ajax, and you had Liverpool coming back from, was it 4-0 down or 5-0
3-0
down?
3-0
down against Barcelona. So you had 2 absolutely epic.
Well, they had a half to get 3 goals. Sorry, they had a game to get 3 goals. We only had a half.
Yeah. So you know what? Shame the final didn't live up to the semi-finals, but that 100% goes in the legendary status. 100%. Lucas Moura wrote himself in the Tottenham legendary status with those 3 goals.
A left-footed hat-trick as well, considering how little he loses his left foot.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And it was like when the ball came over the top to Dele, it was like all slow motion, and Dele with that slight amazing touch through Lucas, and then Lucas just nestled it in the bottom corner. It just all went
as the clock
in
hit 95.
slow motion.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, moving on. Our first game at the new stadium against Crystal Palace. We won 2-0, but it was all about just the grand opening of the new stadium, signalling a new era for Tottenham Hotspur, new state-of-the-art 60,000 seater stadium. It was a fantastic moment for Tottenham, fantastic moment for Levy as well, for all the hard work he's done and put into the new stadium. And once all the fans could see it for themselves, what an arena we have. Yeah, and it was just like it was a bit of relief as well after all the delays to the stadium and everyone moaning and groaning, still playing at Wembley. When we finally got into that stadium, it was a truly amazing moment for us as fans. You know, it's just to see this whole thing that we've been seeing building over the years. You know, at our home, playing at Wembley for so many years, it was just so great to get back home.
Probably what takes it down, probably what puts it in the great tier instead of the epic tier, was probably that opera singer. Spurs probably could have done a bit better with that. But I tell you what was great, those fireworks at the end.
And the new stewarding team.
The stewarding team is fantastic, yeah. That goes just in the great tier.
Yeah.
Putting it in the great tier.
And on the flip side of that, the next moment that we're picking is the last game at White Hart Lane in 2017 against Manchester United. What a day that was. A proper emotional day from start to finish. You get around White Hart Lane and there's just tons of people in the pubs, on the streets, just hanging out from very early on in the day. A lot of people getting very emotional, flags everywhere, songs everywhere, beers flowing. And then you get into the stadium and you just see the amount of flags, and the actual atmosphere inside that stadium was probably the best atmosphere, well, definitely near to the best atmosphere that we've seen at White Hart Lane in our lifetime.
It was an emotional saying goodbye to our former home. We've had so many good memories at White Hart Lane. It's been our home for so long, and everyone, even now, you look back at old videos and how the atmosphere was there, and you just sometimes you miss being there. And it was also amazing that we'd gone that whole season, our last season at White Hart Lane, unbeaten, and we just had one more game to go to finish the season unbeaten against Man United, and we won the game 2-1. Harry Kane scoring Tottenham's last ever goal at White Hart Lane, and to cap off that season, going unbeaten at White Hart Lane was an amazing moment, and to say good, and to all the legends coming out at the end of the game, and the rainbow shining over White Hart Lane after the final whistle as well, with all the legends on the the pitch.
With Bill Nick looking down.
Exactly. I had a tear in my eye at the time. It was unbelievable. And there was pitch invasion at the game, which unfortunately we didn't get on the pitch.
That's my only regret, and I blame you.
You blame me for not getting on the pitch because we're in the top tier. We couldn't get on, but we could have jumped down. We didn't bring a mattress with us or anything, but if only we would have known. But it was an unbelievable moment to cap off what was an unbelievable stadium, and I still get emotional thinking about it.
Yeah.
But that goes in the epic tier.
All right. Yeah, definitely. The next up is Delhi's performance against Chelsea in our first win in Stamford Bridge in how many years?
28 years, I believe it was.
28 years, absolutely crazy. We went 1-0 down that day, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then
you think same old.
Yeah, and you think same old. Then Eriksen scored an absolutely peach of a goal just before half time, and you're thinking, all right. And then second half, we just came out and we took no shit. We were just at the business, weren't we?
We were the better team at the time, and it was one of those days where you're feeling, could this be our first ever win at Stamford Bridge in 28 years? Maybe, but we've had that so many false dawns. I was obviously being 2-0 up at Stamford Bridge a couple of years before, and giving it away, and after losing the title as well. But we got our revenge in this game, in Dele Alli with his double and putting his ear to the crowd, as what's called having the Chelsea fans on strings as well. How they, you could see in the snapshots the hate in their eyes at Dele Alli.
Yeah, you
just couldn't stand him at the time.
There was that one image of Dele just going like this with all the Chelsea fans in front of him, and every single one is a proper picture.
Literally, I remember. I can stare at that picture for hours just looking at all the Chelsea fans just getting so wound up at Dele Alli. But he scored 2 unbelievable goals that day. That touch and finish of Eric Dier's pass was unbelievable. And it was one of the great individual performances for Tottenham, and to also for it to be our first win at Stamford Bridge in 28 years, just one of the most unbelievable moments of the decade.
Great, that's got to go in epic, surely.
Winning your first game at Stamford Bridge goes in the epic tier, I think.
All right.
Next up, Harry Kane scored the winner at Villa Park in 2014 to save Pochettino's job. And
really? Save his job?
That's what he said. That's what Pochettino said at the time. He said, "Look, if we don't win this game, we could be packing." Really, he said. I remember he said that he was at that game, and we were drawing one. He was like, "All right." He was telling his coaching staff, "I think this is it. This could be it. I think we could be gone." And then he brings on Harry Kane, who'd been banging in the goals in the Europa League. Everyone was calling for him to have more game time in the Premier League, but Pochettino had up to this point resisted until this moment.
Exactly.
He brings him on.
Stuck with Soldado.
Yeah, he stuck with Soldado and Adebayor, but they were just putting disaster class after disaster class each week. He puts Harry Kane on 20 minutes to go. We get a free kick in about, I think, 2 or 3 minutes to go. And it takes a big deflection at the time, but it goes in, and it sparks rapturous celebrations in the Tottenham away end. We end up winning 2-1, and Pochettino stays in the job. Harry Kane stays in the team, and the rest is history.
The rest is history, and that was like the birth of Harry Kane. That goal, it really was, and the limbs in that away end was absolutely sensational.
Sparking many Harry Kane Jesus memes. How he was the saviour of Tottenham, and they were joking at the time, but no one's joking now.
Exactly, that's when he was a 1-game wonder. Then it turned into a 1-season wonder, then a 2-season wonder,
and now
he's just a wonder.
He's just a 1-career wonder.
Exactly.
And that goes in the good tier probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because it saved Pochettino's job, but it was a good moment, but it led to more great moments.
All right, and that brings us on to the next one. It's Harry Kane's goal against Arsenal in 2016 to put us top of the league for a grand total of how many minutes?
I think it was about 3.5 minutes.
3.5 minutes.
What a 5 minutes that was, though.
Yeah, it was very iconic. Harry Kane was wearing the mask at the time. He hits the ball in from a very, very tight angle on the right-hand side.
I think it's one of his best ever finishes in the Tottenham
I think
shirt.
so, and it bends round and bends. Who was the keeper? Was it Chesney?
I think Ospina at the time.
Ospina. It bends round Ospina, hits top bins, literally top bins. And the celebration, so he rips off the mask and runs towards the fans. It was absolutely incredible. But the only problem with that is that we didn't end up winning the game, and we didn't. Because if we won that game, we'd have gone top of the league.
And there is a tinge of disappointment as well, always in that game, just because Arsenal were down to 10 men. They're 1-0 up, and then they went down to 10 men. We go 2-0 up.
Sanchez was on the bench as well, wasn't he?
I think he came on and he scored. I think the equaliser, which was a bit of a poor mistake by Lloris at the time. But when Harry scored that goal, if you watch it back, the crowd noise you could hear was just reverberating around the whole stadium when he scores that goal. It was such an unbelievable goal, and to go 2-1 up against Arsenal as well was a great moment. was a good moment, as we put it in the tier, because
Yeah.
I think we're going to put it in good just because we didn't end up winning the game. But at the time, it was we couldn't believe our eyes going top of the league, beating Arsenal, but we couldn't sustain it.
Yeah, unfortunately. So that goes into the good pile.
All right, we move on to Man City in the Champions League quarter-final, away in the second leg. The VAR decision, the last minute. We went into this game 1-0 up after the first leg, after Lloris saved an Aguero penalty, and a very late Son goal meant we scraped into the second leg just about with our noses in front. Man City were challenging Liverpool for the league title, though I think they were top of the league at the time. Spurs were struggling in the top 4 race, and we were struggling for numbers as well. Harry Kane had been ruled out after an injury in the first leg, and you're fearing the worst in this game, and you're thinking, how are we going to get through? But what was about to be upon us was one of the greatest ever Champions League games we'll ever see. It was 2-2 after 10 minutes, after Heung-min Son scored 2 early goals for Spurs, putting us 2-1 up in the tie, which meant that Man City needed 3 goals to progress in this tie. They'd got 2 of them by the half an hour mark, and all of a sudden after the hour, Aguero had put Man City 4-2 ahead, and meaning that City had already had a comeback from 3-0 down in this game essentially to go in the lead, and they were progressing. 15 minutes to go, somehow the ball bounces off of Fernando Llorente's knee from a very rare Tottenham attack.
Knee, arm, shoulder,
knee,
whatever.
There was a very, very long VAR check for that one, after it looked like it may have touched Llorente's hand. It may have scraped it. We're calling it the knee. Llorente's knee, to put Spurs ahead on away goals, just about, somehow scraping it on away goals. But then in the 93rd minute, we all thought was a classic Spursy moment. We couldn't have been more Spurs. Eriksen giving the ball away inside his own half in the 93rd minute. All he had to do was clear the ball.
Passing it to them.
He passed it back to it. His pass got intercepted by Bernardo Silva, I believe. Falls to Aguero, who squares it to Sterling, who buries it in the bottom corner in the 93rd minute. This whole place is off the wall. City are going crazy. Guardiola's running up and down the touchline.
Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne is going into the camera. This is our house.
Yeah,
this is our house.
De Bruyne is going mad. The City fans in raptures. I can't be more dejected as I've ever been losing in the 93rd minute, thinking we are a minute away from the Champions League semi-final, and we knew we were playing Ajax as well. So we were so close to the semi-final in Amsterdam, but we just couldn't hang on for those minutes.
And that City Stadium announcer, go for City!
City! And you're thinking Eriksen gave it away as well, so you're thinking no chance it could be VAR because Eriksen passed it to them, so how could there's no chance that it could be changed from VAR. But little did we know, we had no idea at the time, but they were checking for a possible offside because the pass from Eriksen was intercepted. It fell to Aguero, and who indeed was in an offside position, and after about 2 minutes of waiting, the referee changes the decision, puts his arm up, he's like, offside, VAR decision, offside, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And all of a sudden, Tottenham were in the semi-finals of the Champions League after the VAR overturned the decision. We went for an away goals. Unbelievable moment. One of the most unbelievable moments ever. It was, again, in a Champions League game of this decade for it to be overturned in that last minute. And I just couldn't believe what happened.
Yeah, it was just something of massive magnitudes. Like, just what a turnaround, the emotions going from up there to down there to up there to down there. It was crazy. 1 second you're out the Champions League, and the next second you're celebrating going through to the semi-finals of the Champions League. Absolutely dizzy heights for us Tottenham fans, and the celebrations went into the night that night, and it was just amazing.
With Wanyama in the middle and Llorente in attack.
Exactly.
As the song goes. Unbelievable. We somehow scraped it through.
That is 100% a legendary moment.
That definitely goes in the legendary status. To get into the semi-finals in the way we did. I'll live long in the memory.
All right. The next one we're picking is Eriksen's amazing free kick at Bramall Lane against Sheffield United in the semi-finals of the Carling Cup, I think it was at the time.
Yeah.
So it's the second leg of the semi-final. I think, did we lose the first leg?
We won 1-0 in the first leg.
We won the first. We won.
But Townsend scored a penalty.
But then in the second leg we were losing, right?
Yes, because we got 1-0 up, which was the Eriksen free kick. And all of a sudden, so it looked like we were home and host because I think Sheffield United were in the league.
And they scored 2 goals.
All of a sudden they scored 2 goals in about 5 minutes, and we were heading for extra time. And in the 90th minute, Eriksen is sent through by Harry Kane and he buries it to send us to Wembley.
Yeah, and that night, the atmosphere in Bramall Lane that night was absolutely insane. I took the coach up that day, and I just remember.
I was there with you. Yeah.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah,
it was the birth of the "Everywhere We Go" chant.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere was just insane, wasn't it?
Yeah, but what everyone thought was we were home and hosed against the League One side, because I think Eriksen's buried that free kick.
They were League One?
They were League One at the time, and Eriksen buried that free kick in about 5 minutes in. And everyone was saying, if we get the first goal, we'll be fine in this game. We did get the first goal.
We took our foot off the gas,
and we did. But what a free kick that was by Eriksen on the right-hand side of the penalty area to whip it into the far post in the top corner like he did was something special. And that was
the best free kicks I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, it was unbelievable. That was the start of a run where Eriksen just buried free kicks for fun in that period.
He scored 2 against Swansea, I think it was, in one game.
And he scored, I think the next game he scored against West Brom a free kick. And it was all, I remember, I think it was Tongan at the time was saying Eriksen's free kicks like penalties at this moment in time. It was absolutely unbelievable. And we made it into the League Cup final, obviously losing to Chelsea in Pochettino's first ever final. But that was Pochettino's first semi-final win for Spurs.
Yeah.
It was a good moment. Wasn't great because we struggled against the League Two side, but at least we just about made it to Wembley with a great last-minute equaliser. So it goes in the good tier.
All right.
Next up, Eric Dier's late winner against West Ham in Pochettino's very first game for Tottenham Hotspur. And we started that day with Carl Norton being sent off after about 10 minutes. we moved Eric Dier to right back after he started centre back. It was his debut as well, Eric Dier's debut for Tottenham. And we went away at West Ham on the opening day of the season. And when Carl Norton gets sent off for handball, you're fearing the worst. I believe he actually gave away a penalty, which they missed. I think Stuart Downing missed a penalty. I think he put it wide. We just about hung on up until about the 70th minute, where I believe James Collins got sent off for West Ham to even things up. And then in the 90th minute, Harry Kane came on as a sub in that game, actually, I believe, put Eric Dier through on goal, and who somehow forward from right back in the 90th minute. He marauds forward from nowhere. He takes it round the keeper Adrian and slots it home, and we won 1-0 in Pochettino's first game. What a moment for Eric Dier on his debut to score a last-minute winner against West Ham. And we ended up taking home the 3 points. Another shithousery at Upton Park.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was very similar to Stalteri's last-minute winner when we won 4-3 up there. Absolutely massive it was at the time. First game of the season, obviously. Eric Dier and Pochettino's first game, and I think it was a sign of things to come under Pochettino, especially against West Ham anyway.
Yeah, exactly, because a sign of many last-minute winners against West Ham, which we had under Pochettino, which is as well at White Hart Lane as well. But yeah, amazing moment for Eric Dier. Again, goes in the good tier, only because it's against West Ham.
It was the first game of the season.
Yeah,
anyway.
First game of the season, Pochettino's first game, but it was a good moment. But considering the struggles we had in that first season, didn't lead to too many good things. But it was a good moment. It goes in the good tier.
All right, and the next one we're talking about is Kane's performance against Chelsea on New Year's Day 2015 in a game where nobody gave Spurs a chance in hell. Chelsea were the champions, or they became champions that
champions
season.
Elect.
They were the champions elect.
They were top. They were riding high.
They were running riot that season. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Jose Mourinho's return to Chelsea.
Yeah. So they came to White Hart Lane, and no one gave Spurs a chance in hell that season. I think we had a lot of injury problems or something, because we were having Mason and Bentaleb in the middle, and everyone's like, how are these two going to compete with Chelsea's midfield at the time? Harry Kane obviously just about getting into the side, really.
Yeah.
And it was just after the Villa game, wasn't it? The birth of Harry Kane.
Oh, well, that was in November. This was like New Year's Day, so it was a couple months in.
Yeah, but it wasn't that long after.
We had a decent run of form, but we weren't looking amazing. We were looking good. Like we had just had that
5-2, 5-3.
We won 5-3 in the end. And we just had a few good results against Everton. We drew at home to Man United, and we were just building up head of steam. But in this game, Chelsea had lost one game all season, so everyone was thinking Chelsea would walk this easy. We hadn't really seen the Pochettino philosophy properly work, but then in this game, we really did see the Pochettino philosophy work.
Yeah, I think that was the first game where us as fans believed that Pochettino actually had a had a plan and how he's going to implement that plan and what kind of football that we expect to see under Pochettino.
I remember in that game seeing Danny Rose in the starting 11 thinking, oh God, Danny Rose in the 11, why are we starting him? Because I was not a fan of him at the time, thinking he should not be starting games for Spurs, but he gave in one of his best performances at the time, and it really, things just started to turn after that game. And Harry Kane, he really announced himself in this game as a true Premier League striker, a striker who hadn't even had a cap for England at this time, if you remember. And he ran John Terry absolutely ragged. John Terry, who was in Team of the Year that season after because Chelsea walked the league, but once he came up against Harry Kane, he'd probably have sleepless nights after that game because he went drawn all over the place. Harry Kane was pulling him left, right, chasing him down, pressing him high. Chelsea were 1-0 up, but didn't last long. Harry Kane burying a chance from 25 yards into the bottom corner. No one could get near him. I think we were 3-1 up by 1.5 time.
That was an Andros Townsend penalty in there.
Townsend penalty after Kane won it with a more heavy pressing when he winning the ball off one of the defenders who brought him down. And also Danny Rose scoring a goal, a tap in after Chadley, I think, hit the post. We went 4-1 up after Harry Kane turned John Terry with a swivel and buried it into the bottom corner. And we went on to win the game 5-3, and what an unbelievable match that was on New Year's Day to keep us in the hunt, I think, for the top four. We didn't kind of make it in the end, but it was one of the days where it really showed this Pochettino philosophy is really onto something, and it could really be successful.
Definitely, yeah.
And that goes in the great tier, I think.
I agree.
Great
I think, yeah, like I said, that was kind of the birth of the Pochettino methods coming to the fore.
Yeah, right.
Next one we're going to talk about, well, we're coming to the end now, really.
Yeah,
Only got a few more to go, but then this one we're going to talk about is our first win at Old Trafford in a very big number of years. We won
23 years.
23 years it was.
23 years.
So it was in 2012. It was under AVB, I believe.
Yeah.
We won 3-2 goals from Jan Vertonghen, Gareth Bale and
Clint Dempsey.
First of all, that was like Gareth Bale completely tore Rio Ferdinand, a complete new one that day. And Jan Vertonghen as well, I remember playing an absolute stormer that day.
He played left back.
He played at left back and marauding into the box. I think he had a few ricochets along the way and a deflection along the way, but somehow managed to get the ball in the back of the net, ending up us winning 3-2 away at Old Trafford for the first time in a long time in Alex Ferguson's last year, and they were the champions that year as well.
Exactly, they end up being league champions that year, as you say. But how that game went, we were not comfortable for 1 second of that game, I remember. I know we went 2-0 up, and Bale striding forward, I think ran from the halfway line all the way past Ferdinand to bury it to put us 2-0 up. And then all of a sudden, we went 2-0 up, but within a minute, I believe, they had brought it back to 2-1. And all of a sudden, we're on to 10 ticks again. How are we going to hold on? I remember Paul Scholes was running the show that day. We couldn't get near him. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we make it 3-1. Clint Dempsey with a tap in. Then they make it 3-2 immediately, and you're thinking, "Oh God, are we going to let this slip again?" But we managed to just about hold on to win 3-2. And AVB's first season at Spurs, and you're thinking AVB might be onto something. You got a first win at Old Trafford for 23 years. I remember it was a landmark moment for Spurs that season. And to go so long without winning at Old Trafford, it's got to be up there in the moment of the decade.
Yeah. So how would you rate this one?
I think it's epic, but what do you think?
You think it's epic? I think great.
Well, you think great?
I think great just because that Man U aren't a real direct rival. Yeah, it was amazing to win at Old Trafford the first time in a while, but I think Man U were slightly on the decline and definitely on the decline the year after.
Yes, for sure.
That's 100% for sure. But I would put it in great. I'll put it in great.
You put it in great. And so it took us 23. It was Sir Alex Ferguson's last ever, I think first ever defeat must have been at home to Spurs.
Do you reckon he went into the dressing room that day and go, "Lads, it's only Tottenham"?
Yeah, he probably did, and it nearly worked. But we just about clung on this time for the first 23 times and counted. We just about clung on. It was about law of averages. All right, we'll put it in great then. All right, 2 more to go. The last ever North London derby at White Hart Lane. We beat Arsenal 2-0 to finish above them for the first time since 1995.
And there was only ever going to be one winner that day, you know. You could see from the atmosphere around the stadium, from the fans, from the looks on the players' faces, there was only ever going to be one winner that day.
What a moment! I think to win it as well, to confirm finishing above Arsenal after last season, we were about 8 points above them with 4 games to go, and giving that away, and they looked for all the world to see we were going to finish above Arsenal that season. Everyone knew we were a better team than Arsenal, but we stumbled at the final hurdle and we didn't get over the line, but we did this time. I think with about 5 games to go, we were chasing down Chelsea, although never really getting that close. But in the title charge, we went 1-0 up, Dele Alli with a tap-in, and then Kane sealing a penalty with about 20 minutes to go to seal the last ever North London derby at White Hart Lane with all 3 points and confirm our place in the top 4, finishing above Arsenal for the first time since '95, and the first time since Wenger was Arsenal manager, I think. So in Wenger's, I think his penultimate season at Arsenal, he ended up finally succumbing to Tottenham.
And it was like a lot of feelings coming back from the season before, where we had been above Arsenal pretty much the whole year and they picked us on the last day. And then, you saw all the videos coming out of all the Arsenal fans singing about Tottenham, blah, 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 a whole summer of gloating.
The ending of St. Totterism's Day.
Exactly. And then finally, after being better than Arsenal for I don't know, a good 1 or 2 years, finally finishing above them.
Something to show for it.
And finally beating them in a game that actually meant something as well.
Mm-hmm. What an unbelievable moment. Last North London derby at White Hart Lane. Where's the rank for you?
Well, the way we've explained it, it's got to be epic, surely.
I think it's epic.
Yeah.
I think it's an epic moment for finishing above Arsenal like that in style.
I agree.
All right, the last moment we're going to leave you with is Dele Alli's double against Chelsea at home at White Hart Lane, not the one at Stamford Bridge that we spoke about previously. His double, we played Chelsea in the last season of White Hart Lane. They were on the back of a 13-game winning run. They had won 13 consecutive games, but they came to White Hart Lane and we ended their run. Dele Alli scoring a brace of headers. With Tottenham moved to a back 3. 2
Eriksen assists as well, wasn't it?
2 unbelievable crosses from Eriksen, and we ended the day ending Chelsea's run and put Tottenham back in the title race that day.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing day that at White Hart Lane.
Oh, it was rocking. What an atmosphere
really
that was.
It was rocking. I just wish we can have days like that again. Dele Alli, man of the match by a long way. Eriksen, 2 assists, and Chelsea just had no hope that day. They really didn't. With the fans on our side, with the players playing how they were, Pochettino pressing full action. What more can I say?
It started Dele Alli's unbelievable run against Chelsea. It's a great record against them, and that brace,
except for the last game,
but that brace was capped it all off, ending Chelsea's 13-game winning run in style at White Hart Lane.
Where would you put that?
I'm going to put it in the great tier.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. That was your tier list for this decade. Let us know in the comments below. If we missed any moments, let us know. If you want us to do a worse moment, if you like this kind of content, let us know in the comments below. That was your tier list. Like, subscribe if you like the content. And as always, come on you Spurs!